Good morning, everyone, and I hope good health for each and every one of you and your family members. Today, we all have gathered here for a webinar on the topic connected insurance. And today, this webinar is jointly presented by Newgen Software and Deloitte India. We have Mr. Monish Shah, Senior Director, Deloitte India. He leads the financial service practices for consulting at Deloitte India. He has over 20 years of experience in the consulting space that includes experience in market assessment, business strategy for insurance and banking ventures, and business planning for SME-focused financial institutions. Joining him is Mr. Shantanu Tiwari, who is the Head of Center of Excellence for Insurance Vertical at Newgen. He has over 14 years of experience in architecting, designing, developing, and implementing state-of-the-art solutions for insurance industry using low-code application development framework. Shantanu has engineered complex solutions that are flexible, easy to maintain, and reusable, and aligned to business objectives. I am Ruchika Shrivastava, and I shall be your host and the coordinator of this webinar today. At the end of the presentation and the demos, we will have our question and answer session. So I would request each and every one of you to please type in the questions in the GoToWebinar question window anytime during the webinar, and I will be taking that up towards the end of the session. Now it is over to you, Manish.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks to all of you for joining in, and I hope that all of you are also keeping safe for yourself and for your family as well. Just give me a moment, and Ruchika, you could just prompt me when my screen shows.
Yes, it's showing now.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think that over the next 15 minutes or so, I'll probably talk a bit more about how the insurance industry is sort of growing, the trajectory of the last few years, and some of the more important trends that we are going to see, which are going to drive the insurance industry going forward. So in terms of the size per se, insurance industry is about 20 lakh crores, and secularly it has grown at about 4 to 5% over the last 3 to 4 years. Having said that, the potential is immense. Our insurance penetration is just about 3.5% as compared to the global average of which is twice the Indian average, at about 7.2% or so. And given our population dynamics, the sheer under penetration that we have in the insurance industry, as well as the digital dividend which we are going to have over the next few years, looks like the industry is going to grow at about 15 to 20% over the next few years. I think that there will be a lot of catch up to do as well, given the pandemic situation. So I think that the growth is something which should be taken as a given. And hence the focus needs to be that what is going to be the quality of that growth, where is the growth going to come from, how do you look at customer segmentation, and how do you focus on digital to drive some of this growth. From a player's perspective, this is definitely going to be sort of a market share game. In the general insurance sector, the market is sort of divided nearly 50% for the public sector giants and 50% for the private sector. Life insurance has been, dominated by LIC, which still has got about 65% market share. And then you have the host of, private sector life insurance companies who have a fragmented market share. Having said that, a lot of innovation and digital push is coming from this segment, and we are expecting that the market share will grow both in the general as well as in the life segments. Talking specifically about some of the challenges which the Indian insurance industry is facing, I think that from a regulation perspective, obviously there has always been a sort of a push which comes for the regulator. Having said that, the recent increase in FDI from 49 to 74% is likely to increase capital in the industry, and the players who are able to provide that access to capital are the players which are going to be more resilient, and they will have a war chest to grow both organically as well as inorganically. So capital is definitely going to be sort of one of the differentiating factors in this market going forward. What's happened in India is that, if you look at since the insurance industry opened up, close to over 20 years back, the break-even period for life insurance was always, thought to be at about 7 to 8 years or so. From an Indian context, given the slow growth, given the competition, given our under penetration, the break-even has actually sort of moved to about 10 to 12 years or so, and because of that, capital becomes one of the key factors to stay in the industry, to develop the industry. A lot of these players have actually crossed that threshold, and in the next few years or so, we'll really see galloping growth coming from some of these players. We also having a lot of competition which is coming from insurance aggregators as well as insurtech, which is disrupting the industry. What this translates is that the entire information asymmetry which was there earlier, there's a lot of transparency which is coming in terms of product features, in terms of pricing, in terms of choice which is being available to the customer, and that again is going to put a lot of pressure on the players themselves as they vie for the market share. But this also actually gives a lot of push to insurance companies to differentiate themselves on the customer value proposition, on their go-to markets, on leveraging digital channels, and on probably hyper personalizing some of the insurance products per se. We will see a lot of disruption coming from non-insurers as well, and I think that eventually we're going to see a broader financial services ecosystem which will come into play, which means that in an ecosystem you'll have probably a banking company, an insurance company, probably a retail company, a telco, which are coming together to anchor the common pool of customers and own the customer and then own the share of wallet for the customers as well. So fintechs will have a very large role to play in this, as they will create super platforms where some of these players can interact with their customers. They might be white labeled, or actually some of them may actually end up owning the customer as well. So how the insurance companies are going to stitch together their partnerships, how are they going to build the digital platform, and how they're going to interact with their customers, again, is going to be a very, very big differentiating factors. The pandemic has actually put a lot of challenges, stress on the industry and obviously all of us as well. Having said that, it has really pushed the digital literacy through the roof. India has been mobile literate for quite some years. This is now translated into truly digital literacy as well. And I think that this is going to give sort of a fundamental shift in which the customers will start behaving, as well as interacting with respect to buying and their financial services products, specifically insurance. I think that one big change which we are seeing in India is that what I call as the data dividend, which is now available in India. And when I say data dividend, what I mean is that earlier, data was a scarce commodity, and companies which had better access to data were able to, consistently beat the competition on the basis of the analytics which they could build on that data. This data has now, availability has exploded. There are a lot of alternate sources of data which are now available, and it has become more accessible. So which means that companies which can build their data models, the underwriting models, their customer segmentation models, leveraging some of this data, are going to have a competitive edge in really understanding their customers, pricing their products right, segmenting them right, personalizing their products, and hence are more likely to get successful. So for example, there is a phenotype in insurance which says that if you are, say for example, over 30 years of age and married and probably a salaried person, you are probably a much safer driver on an average. Now this might be sort of stereotyping, but there would be actuarial models as well as behavioral models which might possibly prove it. Today the insurance companies is not really able to distinguish the risk quality of this particular segment, but going forward this is going to be possible. And while the pricing might be lower for certain segments because of this additional insights which comes in. But if you adjust it for the risk, it is going to be much more profitable. So companies which will then tailor their products across the risk sensitive information are likely to attract a more profitable pool of customers as compared to someone else. This is definitely going to have an impact on their bottom line. Telematics, for example, right? So why should anybody pay insurance for the car in the garage? So if you have a product which actually measures the kilometers that you're driving, and then the insurance is then tailored to the actual mileage, that probably is going to be favored by a lot of people, and bring down the overall cost, but it's actually going to reduce the riskiness of that particular asset pool as well. So I think that we will see a lot of innovation coming into play. And the last challenge which comes in terms of the customer behavior itself, right? So customer gratification has become sort of more instantaneous. The loyalty understood in the traditional way is getting challenged, and we will see newer customer engagement models which will come into play. And the entire customer experience is going to be a big differentiator going forward as well. So basically, in terms of the industry and the connected insurance, what this means is that you need to keep digital at the core of everything that you do, and really build the digital insurance, and have digital as the DNA of the organization. So there are a lot of macro technology forces at work, and these are sort of secular forces per se. You have insurtechs, you have aggregators, you have the digital users, but there is a big digital push which is happening by the government itself, right? So if the traffic challans are available in the public domain, and that also talks about the behavior of a particular driver, it is possible to again assign that as an additional risk parameter to arrive at the pricing. And again, this is going to lead to better competitiveness as well. On the tech side, you have models such as NoOps and agile architecture, which is going to basically transform the spaghetti systems which are right now in play, right? So how are you going to build these platforms on top of your core insurance, in changing the way you are interacting with your customers and giving them a seamless experience, I think is going to be one of the big differentiating factors as well. The experience itself is getting reimagined, right? And getting insurance online has been never more easy than what it was earlier. But I think that additional features which are now available thanks to open finance and data sharing, which is happening across the ecosystem, it is getting more and more personalized, and this is benefiting the customers, and that eventually will benefit the insurance companies as well. Artificial intelligence has basically changed the way the entire insurance value chain works, right from sourcing to scoping to underwriting to product design to servicing to claims management, and loyalty, and that again I think is something which is we see a lot of investments by which will go into this area from an insurance company's perspective. And I think that a lot of this is also about that how do you just leverage digital and make it sort of user friendly as well, right? So how do you train your people, how do you demystify the entire digital experience and make it very simple, transparent, easy to use? That is something which is again some of the focus areas for a lot of insurance companies. So I think that the digital needs to be looked at from a multiple perspective, right? So at the heart of it are the stakeholders, which are your customers, and then your entire distribution channel on the agency channel, your brokerages, and so on and so forth. And then how do you look at various aspects across the value chain, in terms of your product per se, your pricing, your distribution, your underwriting, understanding the underlying risk which is involved, how do you service the customers, and how do you do claims? That entire value chain needs to be sort of digitized from an end-to-end perspective to truly get the benefits of digitization, right? So it needs to be obviously keep customer at the center of it, and make sure that we're looking at the unmet needs of the customers. We are looking at that what could be the next best possible solution, and probably look at adjacency products as well. So how do you marry an insurance product with, say, for example, a savings product, or for example, an investment product, or even make sure that the loyalty transcends even retail products as well. So then insurance then really becomes a lifestyle kind of a choice rather than just a financial services product. It requires to be data driven as well, and then looking at the newer sources of data which is available, and then leveraging data visualization and deep data analytics to come up with insights, and then transforming those insights into action points is something which digital can enable. And then lastly, obviously, it needs to be sort of more platform based. So it then gets into self-service mode, then it enables the benefits of the network effect per se. I think that just probably considering the time as well, wanted to quickly speak more about some of the challenges which the insurance companies would have. So right now, insurance companies are focusing on how do you deliver a seamless multi-channel experiences. Right now, the network systems are more closed, and then the segmentation is not as fine. And right now, insurance is actually sold as a transactional product per se. But what we believe is that in terms of connected insurance, we will look at sort of an omni-channel and opti-channel experience, where the experience is sort of seamless across multiple channels. The systems itself will be more open systems, and the platform would hence be not just insurance, but a broader wealth and a life experience choice. And there would be hyper personalization and customer segmentation, which will be tailoring the product to the specific customer requirement, and then focus on how do you change this whole experience rather than being a transactional experience to look at a broader customer life cycle kind of an experience. I think that I had few more slides which spoke about the automation which is likely to happen across various insurance processes, and then talk about the value chain from front office, middle office to the back office. But basically, I think that what I would want to summarize is that we are seeing a lot of transformation which is happening in the insurance sector. There are a lot of micro factors which are going to give a lot of tailwinds to the growth per se. So one is that at a broader industry perspective, there is a significant amount of underpenetration which is there in the insurance industry per se. So there is latent demand which is there, right? Second is that our demographic dividend is that we are going to have a huge amount of workforce which is going to join the employment cycle, and that itself is going to push the requirement for insurance per se. Lastly, I think that the entire digital as well as the data dividend is going to change the way information is available and accessible, and that is again going to give a big supply side push to the insurance industry. So in summary, the connected insurance of the future will sort of focus on a very on speed in time to market, which will be almost instantaneous, and the access would be on the go through multiple channels, right? The innovation again would be something which will be sort of built into the core DNAs. The customer would be at the center of the connected insurance company. This is going to give a lot of benefits on economies of scale. The marginal cost of customer acquisition and customer services is going to reduce tremendously, and still at the heart of it we will see customer security and data protection at the core of it. So I think in the next few years or so, I think that thanks to the digital and innovation which is going to benefit the industry. We will see a lot of growth coming in the industry, and companies which are focusing on driving some of this technology and digital led transformations are going to be more successful than some of the others. Thanks a lot for all your time, and then happy to address some of the Q&As that you'll have. And over to you, Ruchika.
Thanks, Manish. I'll pass it on to Shantanu now.
Yeah, thanks, Ruchika. Good morning, everyone. You just share my screen. Okay. So I hope the screen is visible. And thank you, Manish. I think that was a wonderful background of the industry and what we are going to see forward in terms of high growth and high demand. And obviously, setting up the context that the insurance companies needs to be, prepared to probably take the opportunities which are up for grabs in the coming time frame now. And I think that is where the concept of a connected insurance organizations becomes very critical, because if the organizations have to achieve top line growth with a focus on cost reduction, it is very important that the organization becomes a synergistic organizations which is very well connected. So obviously, when we are trying to connect in organizations, the key driving factors which sort of inspires this connection is customer experience, which is, as Manish also mentioned, at the heart of it. Because what the customer now is much more educated, he is much more aware, and obviously his experience becomes the key in the growth that organizations are expecting. Obviously, they are looking at innovation in terms of not just the technology but also the insurance product. As again Monish was mentioning, that now there can be a lot more club products that can be sold. Operational efficiencies remains at the heart of cost reduction, and while organizations have done a lot of work around it, I think there's still a way to go on this. And obviously, compliance becomes a very important factor, especially with a lot of regulatory push also coming into the picture. So probably if we look at a landscape of an insurance company which is, let's say, a partially connected or a disconnected organization, obviously at the heart of it, we have people who includes not just the internal stakeholders within the insurance companies, but customers, as well as a lot of partners who are involved in the insurance operations. We have the processes, which obviously are the key for business, and then we have the technologies. Now, while companies have a lot of automation, covering all of these factors, but then these automation lack a lot of connectedness. So, when we talk about a connected organization, what we are trying to look at is maximizing the intersection between these three. So, the more is the intersection, the more are the people, the processes, and the technology seamlessly connected, which actually would result in a truly connected enterprise. So an example would be that, while there might be a lot of automation with respects to the sales automation with agents using a lot of technologies these days, but then there are still a lot of partners who are involved in the customer journey in its entire ecosystem, which still do not have that level of connectedness with the insurance company. So for example, your medical partners, probably they still are relying on sharing reports over an email, which are then deciphered internally, which actually creates a break in the process. Then again, each department might have their own set of automations, they have their own internal workflows, but then are these workflows truly connected to each other? I mean, is the flow of information even within the insurance companies across department happening seamlessly without any data loss or any data redundancy? That is again a question that organizations needs to ask themselves. And obviously, there are a lot of technologies which are available, but then insurance companies are still not maximizing the leverage which these gives. For example, you can have a lot of rules and validations and logic centrally managed and stored inside a rule engine, or probably the communication aspects can be centralized, which then connects all the systems seamlessly with each other. You don't have to then depend on separate system individually to sort of manage the rules and communication, which then increase the maintenance cost, because then you have to do a lot of increased maintenance across systems, and then probably a lot of standardization also goes away. So that is where we probably say that, while the automation might be present, but siloed automation may not truly result in a connected environment. And that is what has to be the way forward. Then all these elements which are key to an insurance company, which are process, people, and technologies, needs to be unified together, through set of technologies which truly connect them. So you at the end, you have connected processes, you have connected people, and then you have connected technology. So when I say a connected process, it can be understood by an example that if I am an agent and if I am managing a lead, now if I have to generate a quotation for a customer, I may not be required to go to a separate system to generate that code. That lead management system itself should seamlessly connect to a code management system, wherein it can generate and share the code. Same goes with the underwriting. Probably if this is a commercial code which requires an underwriting intervention, the flow of information to an underwriter should be seamless rather than relying on emails or of the system information flow. Connected people, obviously you can connect people across these platforms, across these processes, and you can also centralize the way the information goes out to them as well as comes from them. And then we have connected technologies, which I was mentioning, that in the end, a lot of systems can be connected together through one single unifying layer, which can be an example has been an enterprise rule engine, that why you need to maintain or store the rules and validations separately inside each of these systems, which, as I was saying, mentions or escalates your maintenance cost. Rather, if you do it centrally, not just you are connecting the systems all together, but then you are also reducing the cost of maintenance and making the changes much faster. I think that is very important when it comes to product innovation, because with more and more business coming through, there will be a lot of new products which will be going into the market, and the time to launch those products has to be minimized, and that is where the technologies also needs to be very well seamlessly connected to each other. So eventually, if we have to achieve this connectedness, which has become so important now how are we going to achieve it? So the 6 key drivers which in our view the companies should leverage more in terms of achieving this connectedness would be around centralized communication. So there should be a mechanism to manage the enterprise-wide communications across people, across systems together through one single layer. There has to be AI for contextual engagement. I think Manish has already stressed the importance of AI and analytics for an organization, and now with the abundance of data which is available freely, not just within the organization but even in the external world, can be leveraged much more in terms of engaging with the customer in a much more informed manner. You have technologies like an enterprise grade rule engine, which actually helps connect a lot of systems together. We have connected workflows, which again becomes very critical, as I was mentioning earlier. While there are a lot of workflow automation available already inside the organizations, most of these workflows are not seamlessly connected to each other, which results in still a lot of broken processes and data redundancies, which needs to be sort of overcome. A very important factor here would be a low code application development, because as I was mentioning, there are still a lot of stakeholders who are not truly digitally connected with the insurance companies, and for that to happen, you need to create a lot of quick applications which can be extended across, not just for internal users but even for your external partners. And that is where the time and the effort to create this quick applications has to be very minimal, which is where the low code application development framework comes into picture. And eventually, RPM for digital workspace. So while there is already a lot of push on RPA, which is robotic process automation, I think the best way of leveraging RPA is even managing the process along with it seamlessly. So a combination of RPA plus BPM is the one which may help organizations even leverage the RPA technologies to the fullest. So these would be the key drivers going forward in terms of achieving connectedness. Now, if we have to explain the connected communication more, so this is basically how it would look like. You would have a lot of communications going out from a lot of processes. You have communications right from the time a customer inquires to purchase a policy till the time he gets a policy issued, he files a claim, or he asks for a service request. So you have, or insurance companies have a lot of requirement of communications across processes and across systems, because many a times all these different processes are getting handled across disparate systems. So then, what typically happens is each system has its own mechanism of managing communication, which probably may result in often either a double communication going out in case two systems are involved in a single process, or lack of standardization, which is very important from a customer standpoint. So probably your new the communication that goes out from your new business application at the time of onboarding looks very different what goes out at the time of claims, and that is where the customer experience is not the same. So that is where the centralization of the entire communication and document generation through a single centralized communication management layer would actually help the organization to stitch together all the communication with regards to your processes, with regards to your systems, and also with regards to the different stakeholders to which these communications are going out. And obviously, this system, the centralized CCM or the customer communication management layer, would help in not just sending out this communication across multiple channels, but also helps you to design the templates, manage your templates in a centralized manner, which reduces the overall cost of maintenance as well. So it can send out structured documents, it can send out interactive communication, it can send out on-demand communication, and as I was mentioning, it can be across processes, across users. So any communication that is going out to the agent, or from the underwriting process, or from the claims process, or from the customer servicing, and even in your marketing and sales, are then managed centrally. So in terms of the look and feel, in terms of the way these communications are triggered, all of them are then consolidated and managed through a single layer, which not just connects the entire organization's communication framework, but also makes it much more easier to maintain. The second aspect, obviously, which is very critical, is the AI for contextual engagement, because as is the data is freely available, I think the availability of the technology to leverage the data also becomes very critical. So nowadays with the customers becomes much more digital savvy. They are posting a lot of messages, or they are sending communications to an insurance companies through multiple channels, and what they expect is the insurance companies should be proactive enough to understand their message and probably connect to them in a manner which is more suitable. So probably while they post a message on a social media platform like a Twitter and a Facebook, organizations should be able to decipher that message, understand what it is all about, analyze the sentiment, whether it's a positive message or a negative, or probably a neutral message, and then take an action accordingly by triggering the corresponding processes at the back end. So that is where they can actually be much more proactive in reaching out to a customer in handling their complaints, or probably even understanding whether there is a probable lead that can be leveraged in terms of selling across a policy. And then with the abundance of data available in the open space, I think they can also not just reach out to the customer in terms of selling, but even offering the right products based on their profile, based on their hobbies, based on the way they are living in their digital life, and that often results in much lower number of iterations in the sales cycle, because you're able to understand the customer much better and go to him with a product which best meets his needs. So so while there is the availability of AI in the organization, a very important factor is digital sensing, which I was mentioning earlier as well, is classifying the message and understanding what the customer is posting, either on a social media platform or even as an email to you, understanding what he means by those messages, reading those, analyzing the context, analyzing the sentiment, identifying the customer as well as the department which needs to address it, and then routing it to the correct department, who can then take the necessary action, and even sending back a communication to the customer at the very moment to keep him engaged and look much more proactive, rather than waiting for them to let's say escalate a complaint to a higher level before taking an action. I think that is very important in terms of how you leverage the availability of these technologies and data to be much more responsive, which I think is a very critical and important factor for a connected insurance. The second most important factor, as I was mentioning earlier, is in terms of centralizing the application's logic capability. So, uh, while there are a lot of applications available with the insurance company, a lot of them are also legacy based, which basically means that either there are a lot of manual calculations or checks involved in these processes, or probably they are defined in a manner which becomes difficult to change, because most of them in all probability would be hard-coded logics or calculations stored inside these legacy applications. So the intent is to sort of create a central rule engine framework, which then again, just like communication, caters to all those different processes, be it new business, be it claims, be it underwriting. So all the logics, whether it is with regards to underwriting or whether it is with regards to claims, they are all stored inside this central rule management layer, which can then connect to all these processes, which can be getting executed in multiple systems. So there might be a separate claim system, there might be a separate underwriting engine, but both of them are calling this centralized rule engine layer for execution of rules. So the idea is you have sort of centralized all those logics, which helps you make the maintenance much faster, and obviously the cost of maintaining these rules and logics also reduces. That is one. And the second part is probably this might result in a microservices based architecture, wherein you have all these different APIs that you can actually generate and expose across to multiple applications that can then consume. So that is where the organization systems which becomes much more connected. So as I was saying, these rules can be with regards to the rules which are executed at the time of the sales cycle. It can be with regards to underwriting, all those criteria. It can be with regards to claims, or it can be within the administration as well. So that is where all these different application connects to the single rule engine layer, which becomes the central brain of the organization, for execution of all the rules and logics. Then we have the concepts of connected workflows. I think it is very important again, because while, as I was mentioning, there is a lot of separate departmental workflow in execution in the organizations, they are not truly digitally connected to each other. So the concept of a workflow automation is something which is not new to any insurance company. I mean, they have been doing it since last 6-7 years. But then, are they doing it the right way? Are they truly leveraging the power of a BPM framework to create an end-to-end connected workflow, is something which needs to be evaluated and analyzed. And I think if that is not the case, I think this is the time to do it, because what we have seen is each department having their own set of workflows, which might be well connected within the department, but when it comes to intra-department movement, or even flow of information which is external to the organizations, there are still a lot of manual tasks or manual activities which are involved in these workflows, which then defeats the very purpose of having a workflow application. So that is where a seamlessly connected workflow or a BPM layer across departments becomes the key to it. So for example, in underwriters, while the underwriter may have an underwriting workflow available, they might need to connect to a lot of different departments, even internally or even externally. For example, the reinsurance partners, the legal team, or probably, as I was mentioning earlier, the medical team. So how is the flow of information happening to all these departments through the system or through a connected workflow becomes very important, because normally the way it would happen is there would be somebody who might be there on a workflow, but then when it comes to communications with the reinsurance team, he would be doing it through emails, and then getting the responses back and attaching it back inside the workflow. That may be a level of automation, but then it is not a truly connected or workflow, because in that case probably you would have extended the application information flow directly to a reinsurance partner or to a medical partner without the need of actually somebody sitting and managing those communications outside the system. So that is something which organizations don't need to look at. Low code application development, I think this is very critical aspects when we are trying to sort of include a lot of partners within the digital ecosystem, because while there is a need to extend applications to not just internal users but even your external partners, but then the time to roll out these applications has to be quick, because eventually if you end up creating an application for, let's say, your medical partners in a year's time, I mean, that defeats the entire purpose. So while there is a need to have these applications spread across to all your partners, the time to create those applications has to be very minimal, and that is where a low code application framework really helps, wherein you can actually create an application in absolutely no time. And this application is not just an interface to capture data, but then it is truly connected with your BPM layer. It has a lot of capabilities with regards to case management, communication management. So this is not just providing an interface, but it is also helping you stitch all the pieces of technologies together on one single common layer. So for example, one of the things which organizations are now emphasizing a lot, and which is obviously a very profitable channel, is the banca insurance. So, but then the problem with a banca insurance partner has always been that level of automation which is available to an sales executive within the partner insurance company may not be available to him, which basically makes him still relying on a lot of offline communication with the insurance companies in getting the right quotation for the customer, or even passing the information of a converted customer. Now, with such an emphasis on banca insurance, I think it is very important that they should have, or rather the insurance companies should have, an application interface extended across to the banca insurance partners, which then basically extends the insurance organization within the bank itself. So while the person who is working may be a banker, a bank person, but then he is connected, or he is using the extensions of the applications of the insurance organization itself, which makes the entire cycle time of the flow of information very fast. And it is not just about the first flow of information. I think a very important aspect of a connected insurance in organization is it should be an end-to-end connection. So an example would be that while the customer, or while the agents sends across the first application seamlessly through a digital interface, there's still a lot of to and fro communication that happens in the customer journey of a new business, for that matter, let's say, or let's say for a claims. Now the subsequent flow of information again has to be in the same seamless and automated manner as has been the first communication, because I think that is where the actual operational efficiencies and the connectedness would be coming up. So that is where a low code application development framework would help create a lot of these applications for your partners, for your extended ecosystems, and within also the organizations for the user group which might not be having a lot of automation. So the cost of application development is lower. It can be rolled out pretty faster, and it is connecting all the systems together, which becomes a very important aspect. And finally, the robotic process automation piece, and or what we call basically the robotic process management, which is basically an amalgamation of the BPM and RPA. Because while each of these technologies independently are great and they give a lot of benefit, when they are actually combined, or when they are actually complementing each other, the benefits are much more higher, in the sense that your RPS becomes much more agile, and even the use of RPS becomes much more effective. So a good BPM with the process analytics capability would give you an insight that what are the steps wherein you actually need to have a RPA bot put in place, because just mimicking a human action with the RPA may not actually give you a result, because let's say if there's a redundant activity which is happening in a process, and if you are automating it through a RPA, you are actually not bringing it any operational benefit or any operational excellence through it. So that is where a tool like a BPM with a process analytical capability can basically tell you that how your process is performing, what are the areas where a bot needs to come in, and then you can use or effectively manage or put in your bots to much more effective. And then also for exception management. So while RPA bots would be doing a lot of activities through automation, there would still be a lot of exception management scenarios which needs to be handled outside the bot. So how seamlessly can you actually create those exception management scenarios and manage them, again becomes very critical through a combination of RPA and BPA. So obviously, that is where it's the four step approach, as we call it, wherein you diagnose the process, you identify the application areas of a bot, you manage the bot centrally along with the process, and then you eventually use the business activity monitoring capability to analyze that how your bots are performing and how your process in general is performing. So eventually, if we look at benefits or of what connected insurance organizations is typically trying to deliver. Obviously, the future of insurance lies in a truly digitally connected enterprise, and that is very important because eventually what we are trying to do is, number one, ensure that we give the best possible experience to our customers, and then we also want to reinvent our offerings in the way we are not just reinventing our products but also reinventing our processes to be much more connected. It would be very important, as again we were saying that customers nowadays are becoming much more digital. They have much more access to these digital technologies, and that is where connection to these digital technologies in an effective manner becomes the key to it. The insurance company needs to design systems and processes which are boundaryless. Obviously security and scalability becomes the key aspect, but then we don't want to limit any technology at a certain boundary. As I was saying, it has to be extended across to all stakeholders, be it internal, be it customers, be it external, through one common layer. And then we need to leverage a lot of technologies around AI and RPM in a much more efficient manner to sort of leverage the wealth of information which is already available in the open space and within the insurance companies. We need to standardize or look at consistencies across all the standards, all the calculations, all the validations across organizations if we have to achieve operational excellence and reduce our cost of operations. That is very critical. Organizations needs to work in a very cohesive and sustainable manner. And eventually what we are trying to look at is the capability of quick rollouts. I think that is very critical, because while we are looking at connecting all these pieces together, the time to roll out such technologies also become very critical. The organizations are looking at technologies which are much more configurable in nature, which can be rolled out pretty faster, and which have performance indicating dashboards, which also gives you a lot of insights into the performance of the automation that you have done. I think that is what is very critical going forward. So yeah, so with this, I think I'll now open request Ruchika to open the session for the question and answers.
Sure, Shantanu. Thank you for all the insightful session you both have provided us. I shall be taking up the questions now. Just a minute, I'll just pull up the questions. Okay. The first question goes for you, Manish. What are the three major areas where you can see connected insurance can make an immediate impact? In short, like what are the opportunities with insurance, connected insurance we can see right now?
Yeah, so thanks a lot for the question, and I think that if you look at the automation opportunity, specifically from a process point of view, I think that there would be a huge impact around managing benefits and claims. So claims has been an area which has been sort of a big concern, and honestly speaking, that's the moment of truth as well. All of us who have ever had to go through the experience know that it's improved over the years. But having said that, there's a lot more which needs to be done from a claims perspective, right? So basically the impact could be that how much of starting right from the reinsurance percentages, right? So again, in terms of frauds, in terms of setting up of claims, in terms of managing and reviewing the billing, right? In managing the entire claims experience, I think that's one area which could be a huge impact area. The second could be on overall customer service itself, right? And that starts right from prospecting, soliciting, to underwriting, policy issuance, management, claims, and in some sense the loyalty as well, right? And the third piece I feel is that in hyper personalization, so how do you truly leverage analytics from a customer's perspective? I think that the story is very, very clear, but analytics, for example, could be used a lot in improving agency performance, for example, right? So if you are going to leverage analytics and data science to improve the productivity and the success rate of your agents, I think that could be sort of a win-win kind of combination. So in my view, those would be the three big areas where technology, digital can play a role.
Thanks. So since you came up with the topic of claims, I have a couple of more questions related to claims. One says that we are seeing a rising number of claims right now after the COVID. Are the frauds also on rise? And have you seen any kind of a correlation between frauds and claims and all those things? And how do you suggest any company to tackle with the frauds?
So I think that the frauds are part and parcel of the industry. Having said that, I think that the machine learning has given a huge amount of insights to throw up instances and make the process more robust. We were working with a US insurance company, and the analytics engine which we had developed actually through an interesting case for a person who had claimed benefit under accident insurance, and then verifying that with the his Facebook post, it was figured out that the guy actually was on a vacation. So I think that dovetailing some of this information, triangulating this, is going to give a lot of insights. And I think that insurance industries are getting wiser about it, right? So there are certain pockets of say in the auto insurance, for example, where it is easy to flag claims which are exceptions. Then, for example, certain pockets which are more prone to frauds. So this area, I think, is getting much better. And I think that the whole data availability, triangulating social data is going to help in a very, very big way. So these are some of the investment areas as well, right? So machine learning to identify trends in frauds. Again, I think that when you overlay that with on the ground experience, that could suddenly become a unbeatable project. So I would like to give one more example as well, right? So earlier, say for example, in terms of complex contracts, it was not possible to go through each and every clause to truly understand the implication, right? Today, there are tools which are available which can help you go through each and every clause and then throw up exceptions. So I think that exception handling has become much more powerful, and that will help in better frauds management and then eventually claim settlement as well. And mind you that claims absolutely are the moment of truth, and if you are able to leverage that and identify the right claims, both in terms of quantum as well as quality, I think that's going to go a long way in credentializing the insurance company.
Thank you. Thanks for answer. The last question for you is, we see a lot of disjointed processes now, and there are so many silos within an insurance organization. With the way the market is changing, and IRDA is also stressing on the fact that there are a lot of ad hoc processes in the system. What would you suggest for any insurance organization to do to stay ahead in the market, to put pressures on fintech and just be very competitive?
So I really believe that the tip of the spear for an insurance company are the customer facing processes. So if there is a prioritization which needs to happen from an insurance company's perspective. It has to start at the tip of the spear. So if you are able to, address the customer facing processes, then it's possible to build and set some of the back office processes right. So in terms of prioritization, that's the prioritization. I also believe that the most of the core insurance platforms, for example, now probably are in their second generation, right? A few of them would have invested in third generation as well. But any which way, for most of the private companies, it's been over 2 decades that the systems were set up. So there is a requirement to do a complete overhaul. But then there are now fintechs and platforms which are available, which can sit on top of your core systems to deliver some of this capability. So I think that a lot of stuff which Shantanu spoke about is something which could really unravel some of the processes, and it could be a workaround, but it's possible to then create a hyper platform which can make the processes very simple. We have in fact advised clients, so basically there are three ways to sort of address the whole digitization, right? So one, you look at end-to-end digitization, and that could be sort of a longer term project, because it will take anywhere between 2.5 to 3 years to truly digitize and transform the entire organization. The second and more easier way, which is the other extreme, is to say that let's start just a digital insurance portion which stands independent, and then we will take it across the rest of the organization. And right in the middle is to say that, okay, let's prioritize and digitize, say for example, customer processes, for example, back office, and so on and so forth. So all the three models are there with its relative benefits. And I think from an Indian perspective, we will see the second model, which is to say that let's snip and cut, use fintechs to solve some of the problems, because deployment is rapid, the payback is faster. So that model probably is likely to be more adopted.
Okay. So we have been talking about technology a lot from past 2-3 minutes. So Shantanu, I have a couple of questions related to our technology. The first one which is popping up is that how is the low code automation platform helpful for an end user? What are the costs attached to it, and how helpful it is while digitizing and connecting insurance?
Yeah, so I think that is a very important question. So while we are looking at a low code platform, I think it is very important to understand that this is something which is actually helping organizations achieve the connectedness that we have been discussing. Because the first important factor is it helps to roll out applications faster, because while there is an emphasis on creating a lot of applications for the end customers, I think it is very critical that those applications can be created in a much timely manner, rather than them being the conventional 1 year or 2 year projects, because then eventually you don't uh, uh, are able to sort of leverage the ROI that you can actually get. I think that is also in a sense related to the cost factor, because one, you can sort of structure these rollouts in a much more seamless manner. So the because it's a platform, you have this option to prioritize the rollout structure. So as Manish was saying, probably you can give a lot more emphasis initially to the customer facing requirements or customer facing processes, and then probably you can also looking at the second phase in terms of rolling out internally across your internal department. So this basically gives you a cascading rollout mechanism, wherein you can not just organize your rollout plan in a much better way, but they can also optimize the cost. And I think what is very important is not just from a first time rollout perspective, what these applications or what this framework also enables you to do is minimize your overall cost of maintenance. And I think this is something we have been able to achieve for one of our customers who are actually using a conventional underwriting system, which actually was resulting in a very huge maintenance cost, because they have to rely a lot on vendors. Now eventually when they shifted on to an underwriting system based on a low code platform layer, one is obviously they were able to do this rollout much quicker as compared to a conventional time frame, and then the overall post implementation cost of maintenance was also much lesser. So I think that is very critical.
Okay, related to this, I know we are running out of time, but one last question. That is, as an end user, what system and processes should I put up in place so as to benefit from this whole discussion that we are doing around connected insurance? So, what all systems and processes should a customer be ready with?
So I think what is very important is again to prioritize what are the systems or what are the processes which are critical to any organization. And there's no thumb rule to it. I mean, this is something which needs to be evaluated by the organizations internally as to where their strength lies. So there are certain organizations which have already put in a lot of focus on the front-end application from a end customer standpoint. But then there are a lot of glitches or a lot of areas of improvement at the back end. So for them the rollout journey may be slightly different from a conventional a public sector enterprise, which probably would have still better process at the back end, but when it comes to customer facing applications or customer facing interfaces, they would still be lagging. So I think that is for the organizations, and that is something which even partners can suggest or guide insurance companies to do in terms of doing a analysis of their current landscape, not just in terms of systems but also in terms of their processes, and then probably creating a rollout plan with this prioritization in place, which may vary from organization to organization.
Thank you. So thanks Manish, thanks Shantanu for all the valuable insights you have shared today. Thanks to all the audience for your valuable time and tremendous response. We shall be sending across the presentation and the transcripts for all the questions that you have asked. Goodbye and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.